All right, guys, people of legit picks. I want to share some information with you guys, even though I can't stand half of you guys. You guys are assholes, but hey, I'm an asshole too. When we lose and talk shit on each other, it's pretty funny from a third person perspective, but it's not funny when you lose. But long story short, I've been gambling for shit 20, 30 years, and I've spent so much time on it thinking that I have a leg up because I either know sports or I've been on the losing side of things because I'm a homer of the Chiefs. I'm a big Chiefs fan, if you can't tell. Um, but long story short, I stopped gambling for a while. I dove into AI, which Graham, who's on this call with me, he can tell you that I spent a shitload of time trying to get AI to predict games. Is that right, Graham?
Yeah,
Like, how much time would you say I spent on trying to feed information into this fucking thing?
uh, at least 2 or 3 weeks of nonstop talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, Graham and I work together. We do trade shows, and like we'd be out of town, and I would spend hours after the show was over just taking NFL game cards, putting them into Excel files so AI can read it and give me predictive outcomes. And I felt pretty fucking dumb afterwards because it was completely off on score predictions. It was completely off on spreads. I tried to give it every piece of information possible, even player ratings, like nothing worked. But it didn't stop there. One day I was listening to 610 Sports here in Kansas City to these fucking bully ass wise guys that fucking sound like this. Hey, listen, you want to make $30,000? You want to make $3,000? You want to make $300? If you got $10,000, turn it into 30,000. If you got $1,000, we'll turn it into 3,000. How does it work? Yeah, those fucking guys, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, third
I've
time.
been, yeah, they are the scum of the earth. They will tell you that the program costs a certain amount. You'll get hooked up with a person that's not even on the radio that still sounds like that, right? And all of a sudden they're asking for like a third of your winnings, but when you lose, you just lose and you got to bounce. Just bounce back, champ. Just bounce back. It's bullshit. Furthermore, there's people that aren't in the spotlight who don't have radio shows that prey on degenerate gamblers that call into these sports lines to get sporting advice on the sports book. And those people get fucked over even worse. And guess who was one of them? I was. Um, and it works pretty simple. You can pay for leads. Anyone that calls into these sports gambling advice lines, first of all, you're dumb, but I was dumb too. And they can literally take one game with 4,000 people and give 2,000 people one side of the game and 2,000 people the other side of the game. And no matter what, they got 2,000 winners that are hooked. And the other ones, oh, you just got to bounce back, champ. I believe I was on the really bad end of that for a long time. And it was a really dark time in my life. It ruined the fanship of sports for me and other things. But to not make this long winded and just get to the meat, the info, the reason why I'm doing this is I listened to these guys on 610 and they clued me into the fact that they're sports fans just like you and I, but they have no idea who's going to win or who's going to lose. Someone said they didn't agree with one of the picks and they're like, "Great, this caller, he doesn't agree with the pick. I think we're going to put double on it because all the ones that don't make sense win." And if you look at it, sometimes that's pretty true because I think I know quite a bit about sports, in particular football, and sometimes you just can't explain a game. Now, if it's rigged, which it might be, and I don't think it's completely rigged. Like I don't think someone writes a script like a storybook for the NFL and says, "Hey, this is how the season's going to go." But there's certain players that make a lot of money. There's certain players that make, good money, but not like top tier money. And then there's referees that don't make shit compared to them. And I believe there's soft spots in it. And I don't know if this is connected to um, me doing exceptionally well in the last 2 months of sportsbook gambling. So the whole reason why I'm doing this is I'm about 79% in 2 months, and I'm not saying that I've figured it all out. Okay. I uh I bet the same amount pretty much on every game. I don't get an ego, right? I just follow a system that AI led me to. So instead of AI taking information on stats and all this shit that I was putting in there and giving me a result, I pretty much told it to follow the money on the way that the odds change, which can be easily represented in a line graph. I'm not going to go into the particulars, but I am very confident that I can look at a couple different sources that I have that show in deep detail how lines change, what time they change, how much they change, all the way until the start of the game. AI kind of taught me what to look for, and it's dead on. I mean, I'm betting every single day, about 3 games a day average, and I've been doing it for 2 months. Is that can Graham, can you give any validity to that? Is that what I'm doing? I
Yeah.
mean, he's just my friend. Like I don't really give a shit if you guys believe me or not. As a matter of fact, I decided to start sharing this when I had my worst week. Last week was literally my worst week, and it honestly wasn't that bad. So if you're a novice, I'm going to spit some stuff that most people that are on legit picks probably already know. But in order to be successful at sports betting, you have to be at least 60%. Really anything over 55% if you're a high better is good because the 5% obviously accounts for the juice. That's how Vegas makes their money. So if you're just 55%, you're just even, right? So if you're a high quantity better, if you're betting large numbers, you only have to be a little bit over that. I do not. I bet around $50 a game. I've scaled up a little bit, down a little bit. I like to keep my average the same because it quantifies, it makes the numbers when I have a positive record actually make sense. So I do have most of my tickets if people really want to dig into that. I don't think anyone really cares. I think that they care about what is going forward and what I actually can predict. I did save last week's stats. I wanted to get on here yesterday, but all my friends are fuckers. And actually, Graham's a good sport. He's just been busy. I have some really insightful people that are just camera shy. I don't know what the hell is wrong with them, but it's really just, I told them we have these conversations every single day on the phone. Just fucking get on there with me. So thanks, Graham, for taking the time. So without further ado, we're going to look at last week. And I'm not going to get into too much detail except for the Super Bowl because everyone fucking watches the Super Bowl, right? So I'm going to do a little screen share. And I prepared a little PowerPoint here. We're going to share the screen. So we'll recap last week, which was my worst week. Okay. I was 10, 6, and 1. My previous worst week to this, I was, I believe, 68%. Overall, unofficially, I'm about 79% in 2 month span. And Graham can attest for that. He's seen it all. So 10 wins, 6 losses, a push, 3 for 6, so 3 and 3 for over unders, which is weird because over unders are usually my specialty. 4 and 1 on spreads and a push, and then 3 and 2 on Super Bowl props. So notable facts, like I said, it was the worst week in 2 months, and the first week ever that I had a day or night in this case where I was 0 wins. So in 2 months of doing this, I always have at least one win, whether it's 1 and 2, 1 and 3, whatever, and then I bounce back the next day. Um, and I know nothing about sports. This is strict. Like I never look at a game and I say, okay, the odds suggest this, but I don't agree with it. I don't look at that shit whatsoever. Okay. And if you do that, I don't care what you guys do. You can bet on your own or whatever, but have a system. if you're gonna bet on your own, like at least have a system. That's what this is all about. I want everybody to win because everybody should win because everybody usually gets fucked on this, and it's time to fucking start winning. So looking at the Super Bowl, I had the Chiefs +2, but that's you guys are like, yeah, because you're a Chiefs fan. I'll tell you what, if it would have said the other side, the odds pattern that I look for, which I'll eventually reveal if I get a good following. Uh, yeah, if it would have said, hey, 49ers are going to win, I just wouldn't have bet it because that's just a fanatic rule of mine. Then we had Mahomes' longest rush, just crushed that one. I believe it was like 20 yards, and then he had like 50 yards of rushing. Do you know the stats on that, Graham? I should have
He
put
had
them on there, but
6 yards of rushing,
60,
66.
66. So crushed that one. Brock Purdy first pass complete. That was a win. And then these two losses were pretty sizable. Their total touchdowns over 72 and a half. Sharp betters moved this line to like 80, but I believe it was like what, 40 yards, 30 yards. Short touchdowns, not very many of them. Lost it. George Kittle, um, very surprising. He had
4 yards.
4 yards.
He's a bitch.
He's a little bitch. So
Kelsey, 10 times better.
so that just capped, that week off there, 10-6 and 1, a rough week. All right. So looking forward to the next day, which I apologize that I didn't get this out sooner. Um, this was last night's plays. What time did I text you these plays yesterday, Graham?
Probably around
Noon.
3 or 4.
All right. It was well before the games. Um, I don't have the tickets with me, but Graham saw them. I actually had to bet the Texas Tech KU game on my friend's DraftKings because for some reason that was left at. I'm just learning the kiosks at Hollywood Casino, which is really cool because kiosks you can bet 24/7. You don't need a counter, but if you're a novice, they can help you around some mistakes like I made. But thanks to Robbie, he bet his DraftKings for me. But something really notable about this, what speaks more to me than the record that I have is the degree in which I win these games, which I put the ratio. Warriors -1, they covered by 22 fucking points. I mean, how often do you see that? Before I started doing this system where I look at the odds, though that was like a present, that was Christmas Day. Then we won and then I won by 5 on the under. That's yeah, pretty normal. Pretty bad loss with the Cavs, but then 23 points covering on the Nuggets Bucks under, and then Texas Tech KU. KU got smashed. They're like what, second in the country, Graham?
4th.
They were fourth. Texas Tech just snuck in the top 25. Um, and I used to I am a KU fan, I guess. I don't like being one, but um, I lived in Lawrence for a little while, whatever. Uh, it also looked like they were going to lose the game, but the criteria that I'm very strict on said was just a little bit off, saying don't, KU will probably lose, but it wasn't enough for me to go on it, and they got smashed. So good way to start the week there with 4-1. I don't usually do five. I think it's the first time I ever played 5 in one day, but they were all there. If it's not there, I just don't take it. So, any questions for you, Graham? Graham, you've been following me. You kind of know what I do. I'm not going to give away the exact odds pattern that I look for. And I'm not even sure you really understand it, but just sitting where we are, another week of winning. You see it every week. What questions do you have, or that you might think that the viewer might have on your behalf?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I had an alarm go off.
Graham's really bad at listening, but and he's a
No, I
really tough friend to love, but I love him. Uh, on the viewer's behalf, or I mean, you've asked me pretty much every question you could ask, but is there like something that you are always kind of curious about, either regarding these games or looking forward, that might be on the behalf of the viewers too, that people would want to know without giving the I don't want it to be a secret forever. I want to gain a following. I never want to charge people for this information, but I want to monetize it. So I want to take something like what we're doing right now, turn it into a podcast, get a following, and monetize it with views, and just give everybody the winners, everybody the secrets. But before I bust my nut on that and just tell everybody what I'm doing, because if I do it right away to the exact T, who the fuck's going to follow me? Makes sense,
Yep.
right? So what kind
Yeah.
of what just a little Q&A, like what do you got?
I mean, let's just talk about some games.
You want to talk about these games last night or you want to talk about the games tonight?
The games tonight.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, fuck yeah. People are like looking at this shit and they're like, I don't want to see that shit. Like, where were you yesterday? I was trying to get this fucking podcast together, so get off my fucking nuts. All right, here we go. Tonight's plays. Oftentimes I will pick games that are just not high profile. George Washington, George Mason has a little bit of historic college history that they're not the tiniest schools. And I also, I pick a lot of totals. So basically, without giving my secret, I look at the way the lines move, and I think I'm able to determine where the sharps, the professional bettors, the handicappers that are known in Vegas that put down tens of thousands of dollars or more up to millions of dollars to move a line. Now, if you get a regular Joe putting millions of dollars on a game, which I believe you have to do because of the Patriot Act, you can't do $10,000 of cash all at once. They bet simultaneously, so everybody gets the same line. So you could have a regular Joe betting an abundant amount of money. Then you can have a known bettor betting the same amount of money, and the line's going to change more for the known bettor because the books are scared of them. So the line moves in a certain way, in a certain pattern. A lot of times these guys will manipulate the line with partners that will bet a smaller amount on one side of the line, moving it one way, and then they double down on the other side. And I love those. You don't see them all the time. Most of the time it's one-sided. Um, so that's just a little, you can kind of maybe figure it out from there, but there's some patterns. Like I've seen over unders where it's like the opening line is 148 and then it's down to 142. And you might automatically think that's a sharp game, but the way that it got to 142 is extremely crucial. It's extremely crucial. It doesn't mean shit most of the time. Sometimes people will see a line falling and they'll be like, oh, I'm going to get on that. And then the public pushes it down and then it goes way over. So there's a lot more to it. Hopefully, I'm building a little validity as I talk because I've been all in this shit every day for the past 2 months. So, your opinion on these picks, and then we got Ohio State, Wisconsin under 139 and a half.
Are you asking my
Questions or
opinion?
comments? What's that?
I said, are you asking my opinion?
I mean, yeah. I mean, do you have an opinion? Do you know enough about either one of these teams? Because
No,
I'm
haven't been paying too much attention to college basketball this year, but I mean, I've watched you for 2 months smash these bets like day after day after day. So
yeah. I
I
mean, I
mean,
don't win them all, and some things to remember.
you don't have.
You don't have to win them all. Be prepared to lose because I'm not a savant. I'm not a professional. I don't analyze the games. I'm strictly following a money market, much like a stock. But if I had bigger balls or more money, this would be far more lucrative than it is for me now. I'm doing this to have some skin in the game because I want to help people. I don't want to ever fucking charge money for this. I want to get a following. I want to monetize it into a podcast because I like talking and on camera. I like speaking. I like talking about things that are interesting. I think this is really interesting. So only two plays. I don't overextend myself to get a certain amount of plays. They're either there, and yesterday they were there abundantly. There was five of them, and four of them won. That's a very good start, which helps tonight's slate because even if I lost both of them, I'd still be up one unit, even if I went 0-2. I know that doesn't help people that might be, watching, and I don't overextend myself when they're not there. Like, but tonight there was just two. Uh, so looks like we might be running out of time here. So I'm gonna skip forward here. And I told Graham to give me a couple plays. I think he gave me three. Which one am I missing?
The Butler versus Marquette game.
Okay. Well, let's look at the ones we got on here instead of a blank screen. I always joke that I used to work in IT and I don't know shit about IT. Feel like that guy from the Browns, Johnny Manziel, like, hey, you interviewed really well, but you actually suck. Okay. So we're looking at the Heat and Bucks, Pittsburgh and Virginia. One of these actually really stick out to me, and this is like a perfect example of what I was just talking about. As I pull it up here, looks like the Heat and Bucks total plummeted from 229 to 222. And I looked at that game last night, and I decided most of that money is public money. So Graham also knows, do I bet overs very often?
Hell no.
I don't, because it's not, overs don't have a space in basketball, in my opinion. They hit for sure, but at the end of the day, you are shooting a basket into a hoop or a ball into a basket. And any motherfucker can have a bad shooting day, no matter how good or talented they are, or how they get to the hole, right? Um, the scoring playing on football is way bigger. It's an end zone. You can play out your skill level all the way through the space of a field and score, and your skill level and attributes actually play out on the football field. But when you have defensive matchups with basketball, I mean, it's a no-brainer why I only bet unders. But since this is a guest play, this doesn't go against my record because I think the public moved it down to 222 or wherever it is. I'm going to take the over on that because it's already a low number and I don't believe it had any sharp interest to get it down. So, what would you say is the line for you on a low scoring total for NBA?
Anything 225 or below.
Maybe even under 230 is low, right?
Yeah, you could push it there. It's getting there. They're scoring at crazy rates these days because they don't play defense and there's rules protecting the offense.
Right. So to me, 222 is low, and I don't have any reason to believe that the sharps pushed it down that way, which gives me a tremendous value on the over. So we're going to take the over on the Heat versus Bucks. Pittsburgh, Virginia, I was looking at before we started this. That's a really tough one. Um, it's a really tough one. It's low. It's for the total, it's 123 and a half. Do you have any opinions yourself on these?
I mean, just
Like
from
Pittsburgh,
my
Virginia.
just from my own knowledge of sports, but I've bet with my brain before and bet with my heart before, and neither seemed to work out. So,
It
I,
didn't for
I
me either. I'm a shitty ass better, but when I'm following the odds, what the odds tell me, I'm pretty fucking good.
my heart tells me
So
they're traditionally defensive teams. Um, that's what my head tells me, and then my heart says usually when you expect two defensive teams to have a defensive matchup, it goes the opposite way. So I'm conflicted myself. That's why I picked that game. Is I'm like I just don't know.
yeah, they're tough. They're tough. So the Heat Bucks, I'm going out on a limb. I'm gonna say over. I'm gonna exit this full screen so I can put that on there. So do you know the current line on that right now?
Oh, give me a second. I can go look at it.
Looks like it's 122.
The current line is 223.
223. All right. I'm just going to say over on it. I think it's a low number. I think the public pushed it down, thinking they're chasing sharps, but they're just chasing each other. So we're going to go over 223 on that. Pittsburgh, in Virginia, it looked like, and my source actually has it unavailable. Um, that line moved down, it looked like in increments.
It's at 120,
Um, and what's it right now?
122.
Do you know if it had an opening line at all? This is all
Uh,
stuff that I have availability to, but just not right now. Looks like it's 122 and a half, and it's got a U15 on there saying it's moving down again. Um, gosh, it started at -6.5. It moved down in increments to 4.5, back up to 5.5, back down to 4.5, and then it went all the way back up to 6. Um, do I have to pick this one? Can I stay away from this one? What was the third one you had? I'm going to stay
Butler
away
versus,
from that one.
yeah, stay
We're going
away.
to delete that one.
Butler, I'm conflicted on it too, so I stay away from it. I was hoping you'd just give me some insight, but
Yeah, I mean,
um,
I can give you. I
no,
never
that's
really bet the over on my own, but like the Heat Bucks, that's a value pick. That's not like anything I think is going to happen. I think the public, like I said, pushed it down, thinking they're chasing sharps, but they're just chasing each other. So I'll take the value on the over. So Butler and
you
who?
can't win them all, and you can't bet them all.
Exactly. So I'm not going to bet that one. So
But
and I'm not going to tell anyone else to either. So Butler and who?
versus Marquette,
Marquette. That's a good classic like rivalry, isn't it?
yeah,
But they're in the same conference. Is this just
they
a
are.
regular season game?
They're both Big East schools. I don't know if
Okay.
the Big East.
Do you have any stats in front of you? I'm looking at my number one source that I use, which interestingly enough, that Virginia game, the line history was unavailable on that source, which is interesting to me, which is more reason to stay away from it
Yeah, I
when it's
mean,
not available.
showing Marquette -4, and the over under is 154 and a half.
Oh, that's a high one. So
That's a
let's
high.
hopefully, yeah, it's a high one. But I've seen some really high scoring in college basketball this year. So we'll go to the odds on this, and hopefully there's line history on this I can go off of, and I'll make another pick, and then we'll get out of here. So okay, it opened at 152 and a half. Spread moved from -3 to -4. In my eyes, is insignificant. Um, Interesting. Looks like. Ooh, okay, this is a tough one too. Looks like it went from 2.5 to 3 to 4 really quick. Probably different entities, maybe sharps. Nothing drastic since then. Um, just from what I see, and this could be the public, it could be a little bit of sharpness going on. But the only increment that I saw that was any sort of drastic, which is not drastic at all, is a move from 3 to 4 without a half in between it. So, which means, so +3 to +4 means the favorite is getting moved on and more money is going on them. So the favorite would be who?
Favorites Marquette.
So I'm going to pick Marquette at the current line, which is -4.
Yeah, I mean they are the fourth ranked team in the country playing an unranked team, but they're playing them at home. So
Yeah.
I like -4 on Marquette.
Okay. So the guest plays Heat versus Bucks over 223, Butler versus Marquette -4. We can recap the picks for tonight that you should really be interested in. These are just like, every time I have a guest on, which by the way, if you want to be a guest on here, this is on legit picks only. So I'm posting this in front of 60,000 people. If you want to comment and talk shit, I'm more than happy to look at the shit talking, and you don't have to fucking follow me. You can talk shit on me, you can fade me and bet the other way. That'd be fun. But if you want to follow any bit of success that I've had, these aren't the plays. These are guest plays. So let's slideshow that shit up again. Go back. One of these days I'll get it. It's this one right here. Tonight's play